PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, the Star Wars podcast, featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast here on the PLD Projects Network. I'm your host, PLD. With me, as always, is the hairiest one, the Chewbacca to my Han Solo, the J to my Silent Bob. Or is that the other way around? I don't know which one you would be, really, honestly. I gotta be Silent Bob.
Definitely be J. I think I would be J.
You got the long hair, and I actually look like Kevin Smith a little bit to a degree.
Kevin Smith's got long hair in J and Silent Bob.
You have the long blondish hair,
okay.
That's more dirty. Yeah. I got more like I used to have the long hair. I have little hair. I'm starting to lose it at this point. I think it's a little thin up top. I mean, that's why I wear a hat all the time. But
that's you're going on vacation, right?
I am going on vacation.
Next one, book it's going to Turkey.
There you go. Good idea. Good idea as always. Yeah, this week, this is one of the last recordings before I go on vacation. I've done some other recordings that come out on Friday and everything else, but I am heading to the Great Cancun. It's for a good 5-6 day excursion of nothing but sun, tequila, water, food. I'm gonna get some Mexican food, and that's about it. That's all I plan to do for 5 days once I get there.
Your job will literally be beach.
Pretty much, I will be beaching. I will be Ryan Gosling the entire time. Beach is my life.
People do say that you two do look alike.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I have heard that about you.
I've heard that comparison all the time. I mean, they say that Ryan Gosling is the slightly less attractive version of me, but
I heard he's the PLD of Hollywood. That's what I heard. Like that's what people. I didn't coin that term. People told me this, that Ryan Gosling is the PLD of Hollywood.
I do what I can. He does what he can. He's a good lad.
Everyone knows him. He shows up everywhere. You look in a movie, he's there. You look on a live stream, you're there.
A bright future for that young lad, I'll tell you that much. A bright future. But this is a good time for Star Wars at this point. We're getting ramped up now. Andor season 2 coming up soon. Celebration coming up soon, which you're going to, which I'm still very jealous of. I will make the next one. I will make 2027. As long as it's continental U.S., I can promise it and guarantee if it's continental U.S.
It's in Mexico.
It depends.
Brother, if they do celebration in Mexico, we'll go.
I don't think they will. I don't think that's going to be a thing that's going to happen.
Why not?
It's just a prediction.
California's a hop, skip, and jump away.
I get it. I just don't see it happening. I mean, it'd be cool. It'd be absolutely very cool.
We did our dream book a dream celebration.
Remember that?
Year, right?
Yeah, remember that.
Where would you think would be the wackiest place they could go?
Wackiest place they could go.
Yeah, the place that they announce it. Where would be the place that they announce it? And you're like, what the fuck?
Okay.
Why there?
Probably maybe, I don't know, like Thailand? Maybe something like that.
Bro. Celebration Thailand.
Celebration Bangkok.
You ever been to Thailand?
No, I have not.
That would be a hell of a time.
Absolutely.
Someone who has been to Thailand.
Very nice. Very nice.
We'd have a good time. For me, I would probably say somewhere like Finland.
Finland would be cool.
Or Sweden, like in that like Arctic Circle region.
I did a 8-hour layover in Finland once when I was really young. I remember very little of it, but I had a good time there.
I spent a week with friend of the channel, Andrew Guy, in Finland.
That's right. I remember that. That's true. Friend of the channel, Andrew Guy. That's a lovable Andrew Guy. Anyway, how are you doing, my friend? You haven't talked to you that much this week. We've been kind of busy.
Yeah, we've both been busy. You've got a lot of work going on, trying to get it all done before you go on vacation. I have been just keeping myself out of trouble before I go to Seattle next week. So
it's unlike you, very unlike you, staying out of trouble.
I know it's weird. Like I seem to have trouble finds me. PLD. I don't go looking for it. Trouble finds me.
Is that the way it is? Is that your story?
I'm a magnet for trouble.
That I will absolutely give you. And you give trouble all the trouble it needs. So I hope you give Celebration Japan a little bit of trouble for us, and a little hell raising going on there.
Here's the thing. I will be as respectful. I love the country of Japan. I would be as respectful as I possibly can to their culture, but that does not, like, you know how the Vatican is its own country?
Correct.
The hotel bar is going to be its own country.
I mean, the country of Matty.
The country, Ken Knapsack is not going to be there, so someone has to do it. Or Diaz.
Well, I can't wait to hear the reports from Japan.
You want
both I'll get them eventually.
You'll hear whispers.
I feel like I'm gonna know when things are going on. I just have this gut instinct, like I'll have something ringing in my ear and go, "That's Matty."
So, you know that episode of Scrubs where JD has sex and he rings the gong and Turk just knows.
Yeah, that'd be it pretty much. Oh, there it is. Good job, Matty. Good job. I look forward to 2027 for sure. That's what I'm planning on that for sure. Hopefully that's going to be that'll be a one to the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. That should be a grand celebration. I will tear down a few bars with you at that point, I'm sure, despite my advancing age as I get there.
Where do you reckon it will be? I think it'll be in Anaheim again.
I kind of feel like it might be back to Anaheim. I honestly think it's definitely going to be continental U.S. because we've had what was London and then Japan. I know we're trying to broaden our horizons a little bit, but I kind of feel like for the 50th anniversary, they're going to want to bring it back home. That's my feeling, my gut feeling. I mean, I personally would love it. It'd be a lot great for me if it was in New York, because New York City would be a fun time for me, and I know everything about that. That would be really
and it also makes sense because the World Cup's going to be in LA that year.
Absolutely. So they have the infrastructure and everything else. I'm going to bet that Anaheim is probably the place. You know, I wouldn't doubt there's a small doubt that Orlando could be a place, because they did like it. I know they reported they liked Orlando and the infrastructure there at one point, so that could be something they revisit at that point. What would be an interesting city to go to that they haven't been to? I'm kind of curious. They did LA, they've done Anaheim, they've done Chicago, they've done Orlando.
Seattle would be cool.
Seattle could be kind of cool. I think New York could be cool. Boston would be cool.
Dallas.
Texas would be interesting. Dallas would be interesting.
Oh, Celebration Texas.
Celebration Texas.
Oh, what about Nashville?
Nashville is a place I've always wanted to go.
Me too.
And it'd be interesting to see how it does down there. That'd be interesting for sure.
This one just clicked to me. They got the Disney connection in Atlanta.
That's true. That's a good point. Atlanta could be a good place too. Yeah. If I had to put money down, if I had a gun to my head, I had to put money down, I'd put it back at Anaheim. That's what I thought. Yeah. And hey, if it is, great. I'd love to go back out to Anaheim for a little while. It'd be nice to do it. And we'll be staying together at that point. We'll just crash someplace together and we'll tear down the place as it is.
Yeah.
That's 2 years away at this point. We're looking about we got to get you through this celebration first. You got to make sure you live through that. I'm not sure that's going to be the case after everything's said and done, but so. You
listen,
stay alive, my friend.
Shout out to Scott Jarrett from Bombadcast. After his panel, all bets are off.
Fair enough.
His panel is on the Friday. I am staying relatively abbreviated for that panel.
Fair enough.
After that panel, bets are off.
That's all bets are off. All right, that's fair. All right, well, let's get into our news of the day. We have a little bit of news to discuss before we kind of get into our main topic of discussion, which today we are going to be discussing the great Tony Gilroy, who has been a revelation for Star Wars. Matty pitched this topic as you're kind of looking for things to looking for a couple of topics to do before we get to our Andor rewatch, Andor arc rewatch, I should say, 4 episodes of 3 each, 3 episodes each. And he pitched let's look at Tony Gilroy. And that'd be kind of a cool thing to discuss. He has an interesting past, interesting present, and possibly interesting future potentially. I have to see how it develops. But before that, we do have a couple of little news bits to talk about. The first one I'm going to mention, I don't know if you read it yet. I got the first issue of the new Bad Batch comic, Ghost Agents. Happy to report that it is fun. Well, not necessarily doesn't seem like a big necessary story. It's one of those kind of not gonna blow up the world. It kind of blow up the media world or anything else. It's it was good to see the boys back together again. Taking place during the Clone Wars. Obviously, this is pre Echo joining, pre Omega. So it's just the 4 of them doing Clone Wars missions, and it just was good to see them back together again. It's just my boys. I didn't realize how much I missed you. They had the characterizations pretty well down. Like they just kind of fun seeing Crosshair, Tech, Wrecker, Hunter. They get together, get some interesting interactions with people we didn't get to see them interact with yet. Like there's an interaction with Mace Windu, who that's not a spoiler alert. Mace Windu kind of gives them the mission that they're on at the point after the like cold open kind of beginning. We do get to see Embo at one point, which is kind of cool. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go down. Like again, I think it's going to be a fun adventure ride. I don't know how important it's going to be, but sometimes it doesn't need to be important. Sometimes it's just a fun story.
Yeah, I think that's where they like to throw these comics in with like these fun little stories. I haven't read it yet. I used to be one of these people that like I got every issue to the point where Forbidden Planet were calling me to come and pick up my comic books every week because the stack was just getting so high that I used to have to go from where I live about 40 minutes to the big Forbidden Planet megastore in the middle of London to go get my comics. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't want to pay for delivery, but at the same time, I don't want to go all that way every Wednesday.
So you might as well.
So I started getting them digitally, but then I started forgetting to get them every week.
Oh yeah.
I just like my Kindle would just be like off in another room, and I wouldn't even think about it. And like if I saw it, I'd be like, "Oh,
yeah,
comic book."
I'll do that. Right.
So now I wait for the trades and.
I get that. That makes sense. Absolutely. I've been doing the digital like subscriptions, so I kind of get the emails like, "Oh, it's ready." Oh, okay, cool. It reminds me that's here. I'm like, "Oh, sweet." I have it actually automatically downloaded to my iPad, which is where I read my books. Also, because I read a lot of books that way. I read like 13 books at a time. I think I mentioned that before. And also it'll just pop up. Oh, there it is. There's today's reading for the day. Of course, my Star Wars reread that I've been doing. I mentioned it before, like how I've been doing the big reread and kind of taking aside new stuff and waiting till I get there chronologically, with the exception of some exceptions. Like this was one that I was excited enough. I'm like, you know what? I can read it twice. I'll just read it now and I'll read it again when I get there in the chronological, whenever we figure out exactly where chronologically it goes. Somebody more smart and more important will do that. Like Alex Damon will figure all that stuff out. They can do like exactly where it goes. Like I'm like, okay, it takes place. I know it takes place pre-Echo. I know it takes place post Attack of the Clones. Somewhere in there at that point. Everything else can be figured out later on. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. And I'm hoping that we get more. I'm looking forward to Sanctuary, the book that comes out for the Bad Batch, and hopefully get more little bits and bobs from the Star Wars comic book side of things. Hyperspace stories have been pretty cool. Getting them Qui-Gon stuff I know as well. I always look forward to enhancing those characters we didn't get enough of. I mean, it's just fun. So. Absolutely. All right. Next bit of actual news now. Some fun news here. We had Sigourney Weaver talking to Games Radar, and it seems like it was more questions about more of a kind of what's it called, the press junket kind of stuff, where it's not a real interview. Not like some questions were asked, not like anything deep, but she did talk about Star Wars.
Can I ask what she said? Did she say that she's really happy to be part of Star Wars? She's looking forward to people seeing the role. She's really happy with the story that was presented, the story that was written. Probably said something about Grogu. Am I on the right track?
You're definitely on the right track. Absolutely.
Okay,
There's
cool.
one interesting tidbit it is an interesting tidbit from the quote, I will say, as far as like exploring it. The quote exactly specifically was, I get to have scenes with little Grogu, which is probably why I did the movie. And he's a little badass too. It's going to be wonderful for people to see what Grogu is up to now, because he's grown up a little bit and is capable of much more than maybe we think just watching the series. I play a wonderful character who is, in a position of authority, and I have to send the Mandalorian out on a mission on the Outer Rim where all the bad stuff happens. That's the first quote.
So she's playing Ripley, essentially.
I think that's kind of the case. I mean, I think she's playing, she might be playing a Senator Ripley kind of character, like where she's sending the Mandalorian out and the thing. She might be someone in the New Republic, or maybe someone in like maybe she's going to be the new Grief Karga kind of thing. That's another possibility. Yeah. Like without late great Carl Weathers. I did wonder how they're going to handle that situation. Like I can't think you're not going to talk about him. Are they going to say he died off screen? Are they going to?
I did think about this. I think didn't you go back to Navarro and they have replaced the IG statue with a statue of Grief Karga?
So you think they're going to have them just die off screen?
Yeah.
I think that might be the way they're going to go as well, as potentially.
Like
maybe
he
Sigourney
got
Weaver took
killed
over
in a shootout with pirates or something.
or with Anzellans, maybe. Anzellans squeezed a little too much. I don't know that. Sorry, I don't mean that to be disrespectful, Carl Weathers. I love Carl Weathers.
Here's the way to do it. Here's the way to do it. And if they do this, spoiler alert, IG malfunctions. Huge Grief Karga.
Poor Grief Karga. I'm gonna miss Carl Weathers. He was wonderful in The Mandalorian, and I hope they treat him well, and hope that it gets we get to hear something about it. But I'm saying that could be another thing. It could be if she takes over for Grief Karga, potentially, possibly. It doesn't sound like she's going to be in a lot of the movie. I don't think we should get like too excited about like I don't think she's a main character. I bet she has a couple of scenes, and that's about it. A little bit, but it's always nice to have a good actress in the film. That's really fun. I do think the fact that it seems as you're going to see more about Grogu being grown up and more capable. That's interesting to hear. Like, is he now? Is he going to be taller? Has he got a little bit of facial hair growing on? A little bit of straight in there. Oh, Jack's excited about it. My dad said, is he flipping around like Yoda, Attack of the Clones at this point? I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on there to see where he is.
He's more of a teen. We say teenager. He's 50, but like he looks more like a teenager. I guess.
You got like the AirPods in and won't listen to Din. That was gonna happen. He's gonna start being rebellious. Maybe go through Goth Yoda.
Goth Grogu.
That's what I need. That's what I need. Goth Grogu. That's what I want to say.
Yes.
Sneaking a beer on the side, or never sneaking a beer off from Din. Anyway, the other part of the quote, somebody asked her specifically about whether she'd wanted to be in Star Wars or being in Star Wars in general. And she said, I admire Star Wars, but I don't sit around wishing I was in another franchise because I've been so lucky to be in some wonderful ones. But at the time when I was offered it, I was delighted. I'm a great fan of Jon Favreau. I was already a great fan of The Mandalorian. It was actually kind of refreshing. Like, it wasn't like the whole, like, I want to be in Star Wars so bad. It was kind of just like, hey, I like Star Wars. I've been in Ghostbusters and I've been in Aliens. Like, I've done the franchise thing, but like, hey, you're going to ask me? Yeah, sure,
I was going to say that the franchises that she's been in, we love the Alien movies. Go back and watch our episodes of Class Action where we have deep dived pretty much every Alien movie other than Romulus.
That's right. It gets Romulus anyway. We should bring up. We should do Romulus. So we have to actually do that somehow. Add that to the list somehow.
Yeah, I think
maybe Romulus should take the winner. Take on the winner at some point.
We could do that. But it's like you put Alien, the Alien franchise, next to Star Wars. I'm kind of like different level. Different.
Yeah,
it is a whole different game.
I mean, that's true. Absolutely, that's true. But it's kind of nice to see. I mean, I guess she could have a lot to be proud of. I mean, Ghostbusters is a fun one.
Sure.
Man, just fun.
She's in Alien Resurrection. She's got plenty to be proud of.
You shut your whore mouth. We would not mention that travesty on this podcast ever again, on this channel ever again. I'm going to banish it from the discussion. This is from someone who likes Alien 3. So. I will say
You like Resurrections. You're just pissed that it won.
I did not like Resurrection, but I did like it better than Alien vs. Predator Requiem. I'll give you that much.
Who didn't?
Either way, it's good to hear her talk about that. And like, she's a fan of The Mandalorian. She watched The Mandalorian. It's good to know. Like, it's kind of like one of those things where people say, I want to go to Star Wars. I'll be in Star Wars. And they've seen all the old movies, but have they actually kept up on anything else? Have they watched The Mandalorian? Have they watched any other shows? It's good to see that she did. So, yeah. So I got nothing too big, but it's a little drips and drabs. The first time, considering that the film wrapped filming in December, we have heard very little about it at all, which is kind of impressive given Disney's leaking issues. That's a very good sign. But so it's good to have just a little bit of drips and drabs of speculation about like her character and what's going on, just to kind of have that fun speculation bit.
I mean, we know who she's gonna play. We know what her character is gonna be like. Essentially, like they would have brought her in to be like, okay, we need you to essentially play the Star Wars version of Ripley. Be
Yeah, but it's the
Ripley
old
without
Ripley.
being Ripley.
She's not the action part of Ripley. That's the thing. She's the older, more tame Ripley. I think at this point. That's why she's authority. She's not doing the action. She's sending someone. If she
So
was
we
really
know.
Ripley, she wouldn't be sending She wouldn't be sending Din on her. She would have go done it herself if she was really
How do
Ripley.
we know that she doesn't?
That's true. That's true. Hey, I guess it's possible. But
Gets
either
back
way,
on the testosterone and
either way, I'm excited that she's involved, and it's fun to hear any drips and drabs about the movie at this point. I'm kind of interested to see. Hopefully, we get a trailer at Celebration. That's my guess.
I'm sure
we get our first trailer.
I'm sure we will.
Speaking of trailers, where's our freaking Andor season 2 trailer? That's what I want to know. I was hoping that it was going to be like right after the Super Bowl. I didn't think it was going to be at the Super Bowl.
Are you allowed to say that?
Oh, sorry, the big game. Sorry, the big game.
I only found out the other day when I was watching the Wanger show with the great Mark Ellis. Yeah, I only learned this the other day. Apparently, we're not supposed to say Super Bowl.
That's what I've heard. Is like trademarks and all this kind of stuff. It's so ridiculous. That's only been a thing in the past couple of years, and I don't know what they're thinking or how. Like, you can't say the name, you can't use it. Like, you basically can't promote your own big game. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But I thought for sure, going back to that, we're going to get something. I didn't think we'd be at the big game because that'd be very expensive for a Disney Plus series. I kind of feel like that's not what they're going to do. But I really like to see something soon. I feel like we need to get a little more word of mouth out there. I mean, the word of mouth on Andor is good, but the viewers weren't they were like not everybody talked about Andor. It wasn't exactly the most viewed show on Star Wars. I mean, it's got good word of mouth now, good buzz. Awards will help kick it in, but I think it could use a little more push.
I think it'll be next month.
Hopefully, I'm hoping so.
It'll be next month. Because if you remember, we didn't get a proper Skeleton Crew trailer till right before it came out.
Yeah, we didn't have great views in the beginning of that either, though, did we? That's what I guess I'm saying. They should be amping this up a little bit more. I feel like they're dropping the ball a little bit on marketing as far as that goes. Like, give us a teaser, something. Give us something like a teaser saying, "Boom, April 22nd." You know, even just a drop of that, like 30-second, 20-second kind of thing. Then next month you give us a full-on trailer, and we go from there. That's my thought process. But
I think it'll go beginning of March teaser, end of March trailer, drop it at Celebration.
I guess. I just feel like I don't know. The funny thing is, like, it seems like they do a lot of like trailer drops, and then they do like a slew of like TV spots like the week before. And it's like, and I actually don't like those.
Hate it.
I don't like the TV spots at all. That's why I'm already in. I know it's there. Give me the one big trailer that gets me hyped up, and that's all I need.
You know why they might not have done it yet?
Why is that?
They've got another. I know Andor's not R-rated, but another R-rated show coming right before it in Daredevil Born Again.
That could be.
They're probably trying to not like cross streams too soon.
I guess in a way, but I feel like Marvel and Star Wars are big enough and separate enough that you could probably do them on their own and be okay with it. It's not like they're not. I mean, it's not like they're filming. They give us Captain America and Thunderbolts trailer at the same time. I mean, you know what I mean? It's kind of like I don't know. 6 1/2 one does the other, I think. But either way, I think Andor needs a little more of a boost. I think Daredevil's got the boost already.
Daredevil's got the boost. It's got Vinny D. Like, it's got all the boost it needs.
Absolutely. But either way, you know, it is what it is. Maybe they know more about this than me. It's just my own gut instinct says
we don't know
we should
shit
have
at this
a
point.
trailer. We should have a trailer by now, and I'm hoping to get one soon. So obviously we can't wait for Celebration for that because, you know, it's coming out the same week as Celebration. So it wouldn't be good. All right, next up we have Daisy Ridley provides an update on the new Jedi Order movie, promising the story is good. And the most interesting thing about this is I think it's basically just put out there by Daisy. I mean, she's the one that's actually most public about it at this point because, I mean, Sharmino Bay-Chinoy, we just don't hear from ever.
Good.
And
keep it that way.
Well, we might not be hearing from her for other reasons, to be honest with you, but I
digress.
keep saying
this. You keep saying it. I really don't think they will.
My money right now is 50-50 that she's going to be replaced.
Okay.
My money is 50-50. And I think the only thing, I'm reading the tea leaves, I think the only thing that's her saving grace right now, I think that Daisy likes her and Daisy's going to fight for her. And Daisy's got an important voice in this production. But I kind of feel like with Lucasfilm, we're going to talk about this in another news story, but I'll just tease it. And I think that Lucasfilm is moving into a shall we say, safer direction on things and more standby, old school. And I think that tapping this level story, which is probably one of the most important stories they have, to a more unknown documentary director who doesn't feel like the move that's going to be coming from current Disney plans. That's my own gut feeling. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I think we'll talk about that too.
I think that will hurt the film more than help it, because yes, she is a director of a documentary, an Oscar-winning documentary, man. That, but it's still a documentary. But that documentary is so closely tied to what this film is about.
Are we sure about that? It's gone through so many rewrites we don't even know anymore at this point.
They haven't told us anything different.
Yeah, they haven't told us much of anything. That's part of the issue. So, okay, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate with you at this point, and it's like I said, just my gut feeling. I want the swing. I think they should be swing for artists. I like the idea of them taking big swings. That is just my gut instinct. I think Daisy's the one that's keeping her intact right now, and maybe she'll keep it all the way through. But I kind of feel like I've still read the tea leaves that Kinberg's coming in. He's supposed to be producing a trilogy. All of a sudden, Daisy confirmed on an interview at one point that her movie was now a trilogy. Putting that together, Simon Kinberg's now in charge maybe of that. Maybe Simon Kinberg's going to want somebody else and maybe his own person involved in that. And I think Simon Kinberg's also a lot more involved with the entire process now. So again, I understand somebody wanting to come in going, I want my own guy on this. I want somebody I trust and no one can work with. That is how businesses work. So it's another reason why I kind of feel like we're up in the air for me.
Yeah.
So just a thought process. Yeah. Anyway, she did ask about it. She said her quotes about it were, I have not read the latest script, but I know what's happening and I know the story. And I think what feels really good is that George is a phenomenal writer. I think we're making sure the story is the best way. The script is the best way to tell the story. And I think it'll be worthwhile for everyone watching on it. And I'm very excited. Yeah. Talking about George Nolfi, who is now the third writer on this. He had the Damon Lindelof and his partner ran the first through. Stephen Knight, of course, ran the second run through. And now George Nolfi is starting. I don't know if he's starting from scratch or if he's starting from bits and pieces from before. I don't know, but a third person through.
She is so well media trained. It's actually getting really boring.
Yeah, she is very getting good at that at this point. She's getting really, really good at that.
Because that statement to me says, me and Disney have talked about what to say. My PR have written up something for me to say. I've rehearsed it as if I am rehearsing my lines for this. She's probably rehearsed this response more than she has lines for the movie that she is about to film.
Yes, I agree. I absolutely agree at this point.
So it's like we should, everyone out there doing these junkets with it, just stop asking.
Fair.
I think there's some actors, but I've been watching a lot of interviews with Henry Cavill recently, just because I don't know why I'm on a Henry Cavill kick for a reason. He seems to be someone that likes to give little things here and there. Like when he's talking about his Warhammer project,
right?
He's kind of dropping little bits here and there
bits and bobs,
what it's gonna be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Daisy seems to me like the person that's just you're not getting anything.
Yeah, so that's fair.
Keep trying all you want. I'm just gonna keep telling you the same thing over and over and over.
She did continue to ask her a little bit about more. She said they asked her about her being a producer on it potentially, and she said, "I don't know that I don't know that I'd be a producer on it, but I certainly have been very involved. I'm not very involved, but I'm involved in it as much as I know what's going on. I know the story. I know what's going on with the script. So I'm aware of all that. I think that what's been really wonderful over the last few years is being more involved from the start to finish, really coming to set knowing this is the absolute best way we could tell a story. These are the best actors for the job. This is the best crew for the job. Having that confidence is so lovely. And it's not that I didn't have that before, but I'm much more cognizant of it now. So in that way, I'm looking forward to turning up, really, really knowing the ins and outs of what this journey has been, and we're arriving at the absolute best place to tell this particular story. Now, what I say about that is that she has been heavily involved with her own projects recently. I listened to her on Brett Goldstein's podcast, Films to Be Buried With, and she's talking about how she and her husband have been writing projects together and doing stuff. And she's
married.
She is. Yes, she is.
Damn it.
Sorry, boy. Down, boy. But she's mentioned like she all this process of like we got to remember, this is hard for us to remember. 10 years ago, The Force Awakens, when she came to Force Awakens, that was like her first big break, and she was just breaking into the business. And there's always stories about how she was new and she didn't know what she was, not that she didn't know what she was doing, but she was so young and not in the scenes, not in the background. Like, this is her first big experience for her. Now, 10 years later, she's the one that's making movies on her own with writing. She's helping write. She's helping finance. She's helping on the backside. So asking her if she's a producer actually is an interesting question, whether she would or not. I do think that she, having those legs underneath her now is going to, and having her be the veteran on the project now is very interesting to me, and seeing how Daisy Ridley can really affect this particular story and how she wants to tell Rey's story. Whether she's actually a producer or not, I don't know if that actually matters more than it means more money for her as far as that goes. But if she's that heavily involved, I mean, she's very much committed to it and very much all in on it, and that tells me something good. Which also does bode well for Charmin if like I think she's the one that really is connected with Charmin at that point so far. But either way, it is a whole nothing burger of stuff, but it is good to know that it's like still out there saying we haven't backed off on this one. We are definitely still moving forward towards completion. We just took some steps back, and obviously some projects have kind of leapfrogged over it as we know. And we'll again, I'm going to say, we've been saying this a lot recently on this podcast. We're going to be talking a lot more about this in a couple of months, I think, when Celebration drops. I think Celebration is going to be a big news. I think a lot of laying out of the plans and the groundwork is going to be at Celebration. This is what's going on.
More laying out plans of more groundwork.
Again, but I think it's going to be more. I honestly believe in it more this time. I feel like they know what they did last time. They know what they did last time, and I think they want to be more careful about what they're doing this time. It does seem like they're getting their ducks in a row on a lot of different things now. I feel like there's more of a momentum with things recently. We've talked about, because everybody's kind of like, well, we're doing this, we're kind of doing this. We kind of like have one film that's in the can. We have one film that's talked about for filming in September potentially, and we have this one being written. Everything else take some steps back, but they've been legitimate. Like, instead of saying like development to help, we've seen like the marks. We've seen how it's gone. We've seen like each step it's taken, which is normal in Hollywood to see some of these things happen. So I think there's more going on than we know, and I think it's definitely being laid out better than it had been previously.
Can I make a slightly risque analogy?
Sure.
These announcements and everything, to me, it's like believing the stripper actually likes you. She doesn't. She's just doing her job.
Last time we had an announcement, we didn't have a film in the can already. We actually have a film made and done. So we're already a step ahead of this one.
We are a step ahead. That's right. We've paid for the private dance.
I feel like last time they made announcements with this is what we want to do, with no real plans in place. Now I feel like we actually have plans more solidly in place. I think that's the important thing. Obviously, we've restructured some things, and we'll see what happens. But I get the hesitation. I don't want to come off like saying I'm dismissing your thoughts on it, because I get hesitation, and I get everybody's hesitation on it.
I'm surprised. We haven't talked about before.
I'm surprised. I'm more confident in it than I feel like I probably am more confident.
I'm surprised you're more confident. I would have thought the one out of us two that would be more critical of them would be you.
Right. I mean, I'm critical of what they've done. I just kind of feel like I've seen some movement in the background that feels like it's moving towards something more legitimate. I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. You could get to the Celebration and you have no news. If we have no news at Celebration, I'll be annoyed.
That would be. I would actually respect them more if they didn't.
I would respect them less. We need
actual. I would, but I would just be like, we need the fact that you showed up to Japan, of all places, with nothing. Oscar Isaac is there solely just to take pictures, kiss the hands and shake the babies. That's all he's there for.
Shake the babies. Let's kiss the hand and shake the babies. All right. Hey, maybe I'm just trying to be potentially positive at heart. That is, maybe I'm looking too much into it. Positive.
I'm the one playing devil's advocate now.
That's fine.
Speaking of devil's advocate, or have we got another news pit?
We have 2 more news bits.
Ah, shit.
Sorry, buddy. We have 2 more news bits.
That
All
was a
right, 2
really
more.
nice segue.
Stephen Pearson, Pehrson. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. Maybe Pearson, maybe Pearson. He has been tapped for the cinematographer on Ahsoka season 2. It's actually nothing announced by Lucasfilm, but it is on his IMDb now. It's been in some of the trades and everything else. What is interesting to me is he's done a number of recognizable projects. Netflix hit Wednesday, he was a cinematographer on. He's done some Black Mirror, and for this channel, for this channel, he's done several episodes of Doctor Who. Some episodes, The Big Bang, the Pandora opens. Some really well shot episodes of Doctor Who, I have to say. So I never watched Wednesday, but I've heard how good it looks. Certain fans have shown me some things here and there. I did some little bit of background, just some viewings, and he seems like he's a very capable director or cinematographer rather. So I think we're changing the look of Ahsoka a little more, and that can only be a positive. I really feel like Ahsoka moving from LA to the UK for filming, away from the volume. I think it's trying to shoot for more of that Andor style look, not necessarily the feel, but like that kind of like Andor. Of all the shows we've seen, I think honestly Andor has felt the most cinematic looking. Mandalorian felt cinematic overall, but that was more also because of the adventure side of things and the action side of things. Andor felt like a cinematic movie. Sometimes Skeleton Crew has gotten up there as well. I think they've definitely made some advances. I think you can use the volume to a great degree as we get going, but I feel like they want to up the game for Ahsoka season 2, and I think this is one way they can do that.
And you look at Peridia, it looks like it would be better shot, like the location of Peridia.
Correct.
It looks like it would be the better choice to shoot over here, where we have more places. Like I know they shot a load of Andor up in Scotland, up in the Highlands. Somewhere like that would be much better to shoot a location like Peridia than, I don't know, Death Valley or wherever they usually go. Or San Bernardino, or wherever the hell they shoot locations out in California.
Absolutely.
So
anyways, I think this is
what I'm saying.
Yeah. There you go. So it's a small bit of news, but I think it's kind of a fun bit of news. Emmy nominated, BAFTA nominated. Always getting talent is always a good thing. So
I had no idea who he was until you just told me.
I didn't either until I looked him up, honestly. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. All right, finally, this was the kind of biggest news of the week, I feel. It kind of goes into what we were talking about before with Shameen and what Lucasfilm was doing. The title of this news piece is Derek Hoffman appointed Lucasfilm's new vice president of development. Now, this is something that has not been announced by Lucasfilm. Reddit, like Star Wars Redditors, discovered this on the Lucasfilm website. The page was just updated. Up until recently, Rain Roberts held the title of Vice President of Film Development since the Disney acquisition in 2012. In 2020, she also co-developed The Acolyte with Leslie Headland, and she's credited as a producer. According to that same listing, she is no longer at the company. So it feels like she got a job. From what I heard, Jennifer Landon mentioned on Force Center that she'd gotten a job with Searchlight. So Rain Roberts is no longer at Lucasfilm, and it looks like Derek Hoffman is sliding into what that role is. What Lucasfilm says about him on the website: since attending Indiana University, Derek Hoffman has worked in the film, video game, and comic book industry for the last 24 years. Getting a start with the Donner's Company as a runner, he quickly moved into an assistant role for director Richard Donner, and then to an associate producer on the feature film Timeline and co-producer on 16 Blocks. Derek next became the development executive and later vice president for the company, where he worked on each film in the X-Men franchise, including as an associate producer on X-Men Days of Future Past.
That's one of the franchise.
Derek ultimately spearheaded the franchise's move into television, serving as co-executive producer on the FX series Legion and an executive producer on Fox's The Gifted. At Lucasfilm, Derek will help lead the team that develops our stories for adaptation in live action. So this is live action, not animated. Here's the tea leaves here. This is a Simon Kinberg guy. He's been involved with Simon Kinberg for much of his career. I think this is Simon Kinberg putting people in place that he knows. I think Simon Kinberg is getting a lot more involved with Lucasfilm than we even possibly know. Now, tying in the Rain Roberts of it all, We don't know why she left. She's been around for a long time.
Mm.
I think there can be speculation made that the Acolyte was a end of the road for her, whether it be Disney is trying to replace her. Perhaps that's why we didn't get a announcement about it. It was quietly done. Or did she decide, you know what, I've had enough. I've done my Star Wars. I'm done with the Acolyte. Yeah, we're going to move on. Or is it just like, we don't really know. We don't know speculation. But either way, the interesting side of things is we are placing a female in a position of power with a older white male in a position of power. That is part of that discussion to be had.
Don't like that.
As part of the discussion, I think it also has to do with what I was saying earlier. We are moving in a safer direction. Now, with that being said, I want to throw it out there. We use safe very negatively a lot of times. I think that's kind of like in our space. Safe. Oh, it's too safe. It's too safe. You know what? Ron Howard was the safe choice in Solo, and he delivered well for us. I think I like Solo quite a bit. Safe isn't necessarily always bad. I think that sometimes when a IP is in kind of a, shall we say, a little bit of an upheaval, maybe a little bit of safe for a little while can be a good, shall we say, reset, refresh, get our feet under us again, as long as that doesn't become the status quo. There's a balance we have to strike here at this point. I don't like having to lose a voice of diversity in our upper thing. But at the same time, I don't want to fault Derek Hoffman, who might be very talented and actually has some great stuff in his resume. Legion, phenomenal show. Brilliant show. Really took a lot of swings. X-Men's up. You have people who want to use their own people. I get that too. I think there's a time and place for both. I feel like since we don't know the whole story, it is not exactly responsible speculation.
Yeah.
So perhaps I should be chastised a little bit for doing that myself. I can't help but look at things, and that's just how I am. I look at things and try to see what the story is behind the scenes, so to speak. But I don't know anything. I don't know anything at all necessarily. But I will say that it does seem like it might be connected in the overall grand scheme of things, which is why I also go back to the whole Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy thing for me, because I still feel like that's 50-50, because I feel like that's part of the thing we're going to go, okay, this needs to be a blockbuster. I need someone Simon Kinberg wants someone I can trust and knows I can deliver a product, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I understand it. I don't love it. I'm not sure how it's going to go down, but that's how it reads to me.
Oh, I can tell you exactly how it's going to go down. We know how it's going to. If they get rid of Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy after this, we know exactly how it's going to go down. And to me, that's not safe. That's cowardly. That's cowardice. That's cowardly as shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't respect that. That's not safe to me. Is pulling in a creator and saying, okay, tell your story, but you got to do it within these guidelines.
Right.
Safe to me is not pulling a creator from a project because it doesn't fit your vision. No, allow the creator to tell their story and mold it to your vision. That's safe. Getting rid of a creator solely based on the fact that it doesn't dot your I's and cross your T's, that's cowardice. That's not allowing a creator to tell their story that you've essentially trusted them to do and given them an opportunity that could advance their career beyond this project. Like Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy could come onto this, knock it out the park, and suddenly everyone's picking up the phone. It's like you win an Oscar. What's the thing about Oscars? You win an Oscar and your asking price goes up by $1 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably the same with Star Wars. You direct a Star Wars movie, your asking price probably goes up a couple mil.
1,000%. I can't disagree with anything you just said. I totally see that. I will. The other side of the angle is, it's like a sports analogy. When a new GM comes in or a new owner comes in, he brings in his own team of people. that he wants to work with. If I own a business or I own something and you're going to put me in charge of something, I want the people I know I can work with and the people I work with. If Simon Kinberg is now in charge of this whole thing, he wasn't the one who hired Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. It's not his person. So it's like, and I think it's not like he hired it and then said, no, you know what? I don't like what we're doing. I wouldn't go save. It's him saying, if I'm in charge of this, I want someone I know and I want someone I feel I can work with better. And I get that's his right to do that. Absolutely.
He absolutely has that right to do it.
And I understand why you would do that. I couldn't understand the thought behind it. But I will say the optics are not good on it.
It's not good at all. In fact, I call bullshit on doing that. That's so fucking just gross. From any creator, to pull any creator, you know, man, woman, anything, like to pull a creator from their project just solely because it doesn't work for your vision. But then again, I'm very artist first. I'm that way with anything. So
I am actually I geared more towards that as well. I kind of be understanding more of the business side of things, but I definitely would appear to be artist first. The only thing artist wise I think about too is Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy brought onto this project back. Like it seems like look at the timeline of this project. Damon Lindelof was writing something. Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy was brought in around that same time. So that was like the cohesiveness of that. Now we're doing something else. Is it the same project anymore? So is it the same vision anymore? If you brought Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy to do a specific vision, that vision is no longer there, then replacing her might not be the worst. That might not be as gross as the optics would make it be. Does that make sense? I mean, who knows? You know what we haven't heard? We haven't heard from her at all. Maybe she doesn't want to do it anymore if this project has changed. If the project has changed like so much and it's not what she initially envisioned, maybe she doesn't want to even do it anymore. We don't know. And so the thing is, until we know all the details, it's kind of it's speculation at best, and it can be a little
not reckless. The good. I don't think it's the good kind.
It's a reckless speculation.
Well.
I want to make that clear. That's what we're doing. Yeah. Sometimes we do it because it is kind of like it is what we look at. I look at things and I can't help but go, what is it? What is going on here? And again, it's just my gut feeling on that side of things. So I don't know.
To me, it's just it's gross if they do that, especially to someone who's young and looking for that. It's like when you're young and you go for a job, you go for your first job interview and they don't give you the job because you don't have the experience. Well, how the fuck else am I meant to get the experience unless you give me the job? That
being said, also, would it make more sense for Lucasfilm if they are trying to bank on the new Jedi Order being like, because remember there was also those tea leaves that they are going to bank on Daisy Ridley and Rey being the face of the franchise. That's the new Jedi Order. So that's your tent pole now. Would it make sense to do that or put Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy and go, yes, we'll give you a Star Wars film and we'll do like more of a lower key Star Wars film, something that we can put out there, get excited with, take a swing, but have the big tent pole being something a little more, you know what I'm saying there as far as that goes.
Yeah, I get that. But
maybe she could shift her if they shift her to somewhere else. That'd actually be a better best of both worlds for everybody involved. Give her a film. Give her a Star Wars film. Let her do something. Even with Rey at this point, make the.
That's what I think. I think you let her tell the story that she has been brought on to tell.
Right.
Because if they are banking on Rey being, I don't want to say the new Luke Skywalker because that's also kind of gross, but like that new main like.
It's not
think like for the new generation, the face. Like you think Star Wars, but you want people to think Rey Skywalker instead of Luke Skywalker, which is fine. But I think just removing her point blank just because her story doesn't fit the new project, I think that's gross. That's ugh.
I do want to say we have veered off track a little bit as we sometimes do. As far as the news we're talking about specifically about Derek Hoffman replacing Ray Roberts. Again, I almost feel like I want to point the reckless speculation there too, because we don't know what happened with Ray and we don't know anything else. All we know is that Derek Hoffman's coming in. He is a Kinberg guy, so that makes sense that Kinberg is more involved. He is talented. He is good as what he does. And that's exciting if he's someone that knows what he's doing, he's in charge. It's exciting to see what he's going to do moving forward. It does mean that stuff is being shaken up and maybe things aren't going to be spinning their wheels. Maybe we're going to have something like everything. I guess this is part of the reason why I've been confident what we're talking about back in our previous conversation. One reason I'm more confident with things happening is I feel like a lot of the pieces that have been put in place, the Kinberg of it all, even though I know Kinberg hasn't been announced, I get that. I can say that as well. It was
But neither Sean Levy, but we all kind of we know.
Right. It was reported by the right trades that make you think that those are the ones that are. Wasn't just like a random scooper. It was a reported thing. But
and also, sorry, not to cut you off, he also did announce it on his Instagram. So
Kinberg did. That's right. He did. Kinberg did. That's true. Exactly. So that's right from the horse's mouth. So Kinberg, and so going back to this, having Kinberg put in place, who's known for getting stuff done. Derek Hoffman is a Kinberg guy. They're bringing these people that get stuff done. I feel like that's the play. They're going to put stuff together to get stuff done. I think Dave Filoni is a great creative. I think he does not necessarily know what he's not necessarily as good at like a Kinberg at getting the project done. He's an artist more than a producer kind of thing. Kinberg can get the stuff done. I think that's the difference. But that's the main thing I want to draw from this is Derek Hoffman being brought in is more of that potential of getting stuff done, which I do like because you know what, I'm just tired of having to talk. Everyone always says, "Well, we got this talking about. Maybe this might happen."
We've got this thing to talk about that we can't really talk about because we don't actually know anything about it.
Right. So the last thing I'll talk about this particular news bit is that Derek Hoffman does actually have ties to our space. He was actually big in the Schmoes community for a while. He was Ken knows him, Christian knows him, Tiffany Smith knows him very well and was very close to him. Christian has said this is a very good thing at this point, and I know that Ken has been on air saying that he's a very good dude, and that he had no misgivings about Derek being involved in this, and that he thinks that Derek could be a very strong addition to Lucasfilm as well. So Christian saying that, Ken saying that from their experience. Ken also did say Tiffany Smith's opportunities for being in Star Wars just jumped up 100%, which is awesome. I love Tiffany Smith. But
if you ever get a producer or any role in Lucasfilm, I'm pretty sure me and PJ Campbell are gonna say the same things. That's what I'm not gonna come out on my show and be like, PLD, he's the wrong guy for the job. He doesn't understand stuff. No, you're like, so
I get it.
It does make me smile that those
they wouldn't have to say anything. Let's put it that way. Yeah. They wouldn't have to say anything. That's
the thing that they didn't have to say anything, but they did.
Right. And that's the positive side of things for it. So I'm leaning positive on this overall. I don't love that we lost Rain Roberts, but it might not even be connected. So I can't really blame.
Maybe her contract ran out.
It could be. She absolutely had been there since 2012. Maybe she wanted to move on to something else. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah. Same job for what 13 years. Yeah.
Maybe she decided again. Oh, absolutely. Could completely be that. So that's not. I don't want the story to go over. He's replacing her because of anything else. Because it might just be the time. And she's up. Kinberg goes, "Oh, we need somebody like that. I'll bring this guy," and that I know and love. Could easily be something like that. If that's the case, then awesome. So,
especially if she got that new job at Searchlight, maybe she just got offered. Maybe Searchlight offering them more money.
100%, absolutely 100%. So, all right, let's get into our topic of discussion today. Tony Gilroy, the man, the myth, the legend himself. You did some research that you want to bring up. I'm going to let you lead this discussion, and I'll pitch in with some of the things that I want to talk about. We'll talk about basically his past, his present, and his future, and of course, we're going to gear it more a little bit towards the Star Wars of it all. So, Matty, actually, I think this might. I'm going to put this as a little teaser before we get into it. This conversation might eventually have more to do with what we were just talking about to a degree. Just throwing it out there. Go ahead. So, why don't you just give us the old rundown on old Tony.
So, Tony Gilroy, like the man on the tin of this show, of this channel, born and raised in Manhattan, New York. I know you weren't born and raised in Manhattan, but you're from New York. So vicinity, same, but different. You're both New Yorkers.
We are indeed.
Son of a Pulitzer Prize winner. His dad won a Pulitzer Prize for a screenplay that he did. His mother was also a writer, as is his brother Dan. So he was very much born to do this. Like, obviously, we know that his brother Dan works with him on Andor, but his mother was a sculptor and a writer, and his dad won a Pulitzer Prize for a screenplay that he wrote. So it's just kind of like this was what he was born to do, supposed to do.
Right.
You would think that until I did my research on Tony Gilroy and found out he used to play guitar in a band called the New Wave Band.
Huh.
Mm.
That I did not know.
No recordings anywhere. Oh yeah, I've just full on pulled the Nardwar on you. I've searched everywhere. I cannot find recordings anywhere. But what I really hope we get in Andor season 2, you know how Dave Filoni pops up in Mandalorian sometimes now again. Just give me Tony Gilroy in like a dusty old bar with like a Star Wars equivalent of a guitar, just sitting in the corner of some dusty bar, playing along.
I love it. I love it.
How cool would that be? Just like a little flash of the scene, and there's Tony Gilroy in the corner of the scene, just playing a guitar.
That'd be awesome. That'd be sweet.
So let's talk about him as a writer, I guess.
Yeah.
His style, to me, is he has a very good understanding of human nature, of human behaviors, and I think that's what like really helps him ground his writing in realism, because it's very granular. We have the story of Andor and Rogue One of the Death Stars being built, they find the plans, blah 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 blah. But the way he does it, he doesn't focus it on the main story point of they're building the Death Star, we need to focus on the plans. He's given us that. He tells the story through the characters, and the way he writes characters is so multi-layered that it's a really interesting style to me. That he doesn't focus on the main plot point. He allows the characters to lead, to almost to lead us to that plot point where at the end we're like, oh, okay.
Oh, I agree. He's very much a character-driven writer and director as well, for that matter. He's directed a few things in his time. He's directed 3 movies. Well, maybe 3.5. He's directed Michael Clayton.
Come on.
Michael Clayton, which is a phenomenal movie with George Clooney. He
watched that for the first time in the lead up to doing my research for this. Great, yeah, great. He's awesome in that movie.
It's quite Ben Bateman, friend of the show. Ben Bateman loves that movie. He talks about it all the time. He filmed Duplicity, which I have not seen. It's a Julia Roberts movie, which I've heard good things about, just never watched it. And of course, the Bourne Legacy he directed. We'll talk about his Bourne stuff on its own thing in a little bit, I think. And of course, there's the Rogue One stuff that he may or may not have done. How much he did, he definitely directed some reshoots and did some things. How much of it is his and how much of it is Gareth Edwards, we don't really fully ever know. He does not claim it.
I found out about that.
No,
did I ever tell you that story?
No, I don't think you did.
Hideo Kojima used to do a blog where he would like write about movies that he saw. Like he would essentially review movies. Now he just does it on his Twitter and his Blue Sky. He just puts like a whole read his essay on The Last Jedi. It's phenomenal. It's fantastic.
Right.
But he put in one of his blog posts. It's on the Internet Archive. I'll have to dig it out. That he heard from someone that Tony Gilroy was brought in, and that he is a huge fan of Tony Gilroy, and he thought that was what made the movie better, was Tony Gilroy coming in. And I'm like, hey, if Kojima says it,
it must be gospel.
Must be gospel.
Fair enough. That's how, of course, that's how you found out. That makes all sense in the world. So, I mean, no one's ever had an official word on it. It's definitely credited to Gareth Edwards. I think Gareth has done a lot of work. I don't want to slight Gareth Edwards at all. No. But Tony Gilroy definitely assisted, if nothing else. And that's how he really got involved in Lucasfilm, for sure. Yeah, I agree. He wrote a lot of cool things before him, too. It involved his first feature film was The Cutting Edge, which is an interesting story for him to begin with. But he eventually went towards that. He got credits on Dolores Claiborne, Extreme Measures, The Devil's Advocate, which I loved. He was involved a little bit in Armageddon. But then, of course,
still makes me cry to this day. Armageddon.
Absolutely. Most important, not because most important, probably I think his most known for is being heavily involved in the Bourne franchise. Writer on the first three, which quite frankly is a perfect trilogy. It is one of the most perfect trilogies out there. Each film is really great, intense, and like that Andor, like that we've got with Rogue One Andor, he balances the action with these great personal stakes. Everybody has personal stakes in his film, and the internal monologue is as important as the external dialogue. And that's something that's hard to do on screen a lot of times because
that's a really good way to put it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's yeah. You've essentially said what I was trying to say, but made it sound way cooler.
A little more of a catchphrase version of it.
Yeah,
there is the soundbite version.
I like that.
It's because that's what it is. It's easier to do in a book and a comic book. You have the thought bubbles, and you can't have that in a movie unless you have a voiceover narrator, which doesn't work a lot of times anyway. But we don't. We have that kind of internal struggle, and luckily he's had a great. Matt Damon's done really well with it. Diego Luna has done really well with it. Stellan Skarsgård has done very well with it as well. Deeply, honestly.
Al Pacino did. He wrote that scene at the end where he's calling God a sadist and all, like that. That was written by Tony Gilroy, that scene. And I'm just like, I would love to just have been a fly on the wall of Tony Gilroy being on set watching Al Pacino say those lines.
Yeah, that would be great. Oh, I'd love to see that as well. But yeah, and then he obviously got to write and direct The Bourne Legacy, which was a stumbling block for some. I've always thought it was actually highly underrated. I actually really enjoyed The Bourne Legacy. I thought Jeremy Renner did a wonderful job. I think it was just a step too far for people who wanted Jason Bourne, wanted Matt Damon. They wanted that to happen. I understand that. You have a lead role and you kind of trying to do a spinoff that's going to lose some luster. But I think in hindsight, it's actually gained a lot of followers since then. I kind of feel like people have gravitated back towards it. I think it's a fine film.
I like it.
Renner is not as good as Damon in the role in that particular role, but he is good. I would actually personally, instead of Jason Bourne, which came out in 2016, I want to say. I'm a little struggling with my release dates nowadays. Now I don't write for the Showdown anymore. I lost a little bit of my.
So if we did a Last General standing right now, you might not do as good.
I might not get 94%. I'll tell you that much. But it showed about Jason Bourne coming out in 2016 versus Bourne Legacy. Since then, Legacy's been kind of gotten better because of that. People wanted Jason Bourne back, but they didn't. When they did get Jason Bourne back, it wasn't as well received either. It was kind of tired at that point, I feel like. And actually, mainly, maybe, Tony Gilroy's not involved in Jason Bourne. And maybe that's part of the reason why Jason Bourne, the film, seems very tired. It seems very... been there, done that. I don't like rewatching that film anymore. It's kind of like...
Yeah, me neither.
I like Matt Damon, but it's like nostalgia for Matt Damon's like I'd rather watch the three good ones and Legacy. Oh, what I wish would have happened. This is what I was going to say before. I'm sorry. This is what I got back to it. What I would love to have seen instead of Jason Bourne, I would love to have seen a movie come back with Matt Damon and Jeremy Renner together, doing something together, like with the two characters in there potentially. I think that could have been a cool, like, next generation project, like, especially if Gilroy was involved. But either way, that's what he was most known for, and obviously very well done. And I think that's what led him to be able to get some more products in this space. And how it led to Star Wars, which is interesting because he is self-proclaimed not a Star Wars fan, which is something we don't ever hear. You always joke about the questions, like, well, I guess you always love Star Wars, you always want to be involved in Star Wars, blah, 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 blah. So you're always like, nah. I feel like, Star Wars is fine. Star Wars is good. I don't really watch it all. I like you watch the first movie, but I'm not a fan. I am not a Star Wars fan. That is what makes it work for him, I think, is that he gets to take it from a totally different vantage point than anybody else does. All their fans over have that love for George Lucas, that lore, deep love for the connectivity. Tony Gilroy's like, no, I'm just gonna write a show. It's gonna have me set in that universe. I'm gonna write a show, and it's a strength. I'll say also was a little bit of its weakness, because if I had to point out anything about Andor that was negativity for me, was that it kind of felt a little bit like it misses a little bit of that Star Wars soup. Misses a little bit of that Star Wars adventure, that swagger, that kind of like lightsaber, so not necessarily a lightsaber, but like it has that feel of the films. Andor doesn't have that. And yet Andor is still one of my favorite Star Wars shows, don't get me wrong. But that would be my one drawback. It's very much its own thing. And we're going to discover that as we do our rewatch for sure. But that's kind of what makes it different. Rogue One feels like Tony Gilroy had done a lot with it, but there's definitely a lot of Gareth Edwards in the beginning because that one does feel a little more connected. I guess it probably doesn't hurt that you have those like Mon Mothma, you have Bail Organa, you have not Mon Mothma. I know he's an Andor, but you have him like in Yavin as a rebellion leader. You have the X-wings. You have the Darth Vader himself is in it. It feels more Star Wars. Tarkin's in it. It feels more Star Wars connected. Where Andor is completely almost on his own, minus really the Mon Mothma side of things. That's the only thing that's different. And Mon Mothma was never a huge character on screen before that. I mean, she obviously had that bit Return of the Jedi. She had like the deleted scenes in Revenge of the Sith, a few scenes here and there in the Clone Wars animated stuff and Rebels animated stuff, but so that still doesn't feel too connected overall. Going forward and previewing Andor season 2, I feel like we're going to get a little bit more of that Star Wars connectivity because we got this Krennic coming back in. We're going to be at Yavin. It's going to feel a little more connected. I think that's Tony Gilroy kind of, I don't want to say going native, that he's been there so long he's going native, but he is probably involved a little bit more and he's probably seen a little bit more now. But I think it's not going to detract him from his mission statement, which is basically story first, character first, put it into the world second. And I'll let everybody else do the world. Like he did that in Andor season 1. He's like, I don't know what would be in Stellan Skarsgård's shop, Luthen's shop. You just fill it up with stuff that
he's got Pablo Hidalgo to help him with that.
Some of that, absolutely, something like that for sure. In the story group with people like that, and there's fans that work on it that can help with that. But I think that's what's been good about it. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I 100% agree with you that him self-proclaiming that he's not a Star Wars fan, which I also kind of don't buy. I think he's a Star Wars fan in that he's probably seen the movies and he likes the movies. I know he definitely likes the OG trilogy,
right?
Because he would have grown up in that time.
Yeah.
What kid in that time didn't love Star Wars?
Absolutely, 100%.
So he probably likes the film, but in terms of like being all in on the lore, he probably doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So he's just like, let me focus on telling the story of Cassian Andor and everyone around him. And then we'll sprinkle in the Star Wars later. It's like Robin Williams once said, to write a great comedy, you write a great drama first, then you put the jokes on top. Yeah. And that came from Robin Williams. Either Robin Williams or Jim Carrey. Might have been Jim Carrey, actually. Not Robin Williams. But like, you even look at those two, look at Robbins as an actor, right? He can do incredible comedy, possibly the greatest of all time.
Right.
And then you go to something like Good Will Hunting.
Right.
And the dramatic performance that he puts in. It's just like, put those foundations in, put those building blocks in there, and then sprinkle all the Star Warsy goodness on top. He's already told us how this season's going to end, that we know it's going to lead into the first scene of Andor. So
Rogue One. Yeah.
Rogue One, sorry. That it's going to start with the first shot of Andor. But I'm pretty sure he's already said as well that he's going to be doing a bit more connectivity.
He has mentioned that, yes. He has mentioned it before. He's mentioned locations and things of that nature that seem like more. We're going to Yavin for sure. That's definitely one thing he's mentioned.
Yeah, he said something like, we're going to see Yavin like we've never seen it before.
Right.
I'm curious what that means.
More in depth. Because we only got that, really, the one room and then the big area, the big space area. We could go back and deeper into inside the base potentially.
I wonder if it's a case of like the rebellion come in and they like force whoever's living there out.
Maybe.
So that'd be like that's
to do, but maybe it's
a
lot like pirates and stuff. Maybe
he's shown that the rebellion at this point is very fractured and they're not always doing the best thing. So like we could like get there and they could be like forcing the natives of Yavin 4 out of this temple. We
That feels more like that feels like more like a Saw Gerrera move though than a Mon
wasn't he there in the first season?
Saw was in Andor, but not in Yavin.
Where was Saw? Where did he?
Saw had his own. Saw had his own place. I don't remember exactly.
I don't know why I thought it was Yavin that Luthen and Saw had that conversation, but
it looked a little Yavinish, but more of a cave-like thing, more of a cavern kind of thing. But I get it for sure. Last bit we should talk about. Actually, unfortunately, I'm kind of running out of time on this recording. Unfortunately, I have a heart out. Sorry, guys. I wish we got more into this. But either way, I think what I wanted to mention specifically about it is the future of Tony Gilroy. Now, it's kind of assumed that Tony Gilroy is done after Andor season 2. It's kind of like what he alluded to. But it's interesting that I don't know if he is. I wouldn't be surprised if he does do more. I'm not sure what necessarily that would be. But I feel like he's successful and Lucasfilm has liked what he's done. And even if he doesn't, his interaction with Star Wars has definitely borne fruit in a way. No pun intended with the born thing. We're going to see his legacy continue. Again, legacy, not another pun. But he got Bo Willimon.
I'm going to give you an ultimatum if you don't stop with these puns.
Boom. Bo Willimon, who's writing with James Mangold, has written on Andor. George Nolfi is the new writer of the New Jedi Order. What did he write? He wrote the Bourne Ultimatum with Tony Gilroy. So it feels like Kinberg is getting his people involved. Maybe Gilroy's got his people, and they're kind of like getting them involved as well. Wouldn't that be interesting to see more of that take place? You have those two guys together. You have the Star Wars people and maybe not so Star Wars people working together. Quite frankly, I mean, I don't want to say he's the anti Dave Filoni because that makes it sound like that's a negative. Like Dave Filoni's a negative.
He's the
but it's the opposite coin. Yeah, because you have Dave Filoni, he would go almost goes with like the lore first. It's like the lore and how to get the characters in the lore, and Gilroy's the other way around. Getting those two together, that's kind of a little bit of alchemy. We get to work together. Those types of people together, not even necessarily Dave and Tony, but like the Dave types and the Tony types getting together. If that makes sense. Last thoughts?
I would like to see Tony move on. It's been 10 years. I don't want him tied down. Bring him on as like a creative. Have him do what George did. Yeah. Be a creative consultant on something. Just be like, hey Tony, what do you think of this? But I want to see, especially with like the kind of shows that like Apple are putting out now. Yeah. Imagine Tony Gilroy writing a season of Severance.
Absolutely. Well, that'd be really weird. Really fucked up. Speaking of that, all right, that's fair enough, man. I like that. I like what Tony Gilroy has given. I'm going to give him a thumbs up, and I'm happy to see Andor season 2 come. I agree with you. I wouldn't mind seeing him move on as well. I've always seen my favorite creators like to do stuff beyond just what they're doing. I don't like them to get stuck in any one thing for too long. But he could always, like I said, I do like the idea of maybe him executive producing something, or maybe kind of like having creative consultant kind of tags with him. If his children, so to speak, are working in the Star Wars world, that he still has that kind of like connection in a way, which is nice. But yeah. All right, Matty, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on social media at Matty Morner. You can find my band Morner on all streaming platforms. You can find me here every week for Holy Snokes and every month or 2 months for Class Action.
Yeah, that goes. Yeah, find me at Paul_Denuzio on the old Blue Sky. That's where I spend my social media days. Nowadays, I love Blue Sky. You can see me all over this podcast or this channel for sure. We are not going to be here next week. We're not going live, not streaming next week. We're taking a week off because I'm going to be in Cancun. And I'm
going to be in Seattle. So neither of us are going to be here.
We'll return the following week. We have a TBD at this point. We were thinking about Diego Luna doing something like similar to what we did here, but I think we're going to pivot on that. I'm not sure exactly what we're doing. We'll let you know as soon as we know. To have Two Maker White Dudes on film, we just did Wes Craven's New Nightmare. That's on the channel now. You can try to catch that up, and we're gonna film the 2010 remake soon. After I get back, review every other week as well. We had to take a week off because of the big game screwing up Lego being able to watch V before she play it. So that is what it is there. But we'll be back on that one in a couple of weeks for sure. Crown Jewels will continue every week because I did have enough to bank opportunities there. Patreon.com/PLD Projects if you want to help us out that way. We do have a great crew there. We have Alterman, we got Brandon Buckingham, we have Austin Caddell, wonderful people, wonderful crew for sure. I get early editions of shows like Review and Crown Jewels. I'll get some extra podcasts happening there. PJ and I are going to cover the MCU in a special bonus edition of To Be White Dudes on Film. And of course, Class Action is every It's supposed to be every month at this point, but it's when we can do it, basically. We'll be back in March for sure. And I can't wait to do that. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Help us fight the evil algorithm. And we will see you next time here in Holy Snokes. Hopefully, it'll be sooner rather than later. We're talking about an Andor Season 2 trailer. That's what I have to say about that. But until then,
may the Force be with you always.